Hey, I'm 1000. I'm an artist from Southwest Michigan. I've been using Adobe Fresco for about 3 or 4 years now as my main art app. That's why I'm super excited that Adobe invited me here today to show you some of the motion features inside of Fresco. Now, over on my YouTube channel, I made a video where I take you through a step-by-step guide of creating this illustration right here. I went through all the tools, features, and techniques a beginner needs to start making awesome art in Fresco. You can think of that video as a part 1 and this video right here as a part 2. If you want to check that out, we'll leave a link down in the description. But in this video, I'm going to be taking that illustration and bringing it to life with animation. And luckily, we have all the tools we need to do that right here inside of Fresco. So, let's get started. Fresco animation. Okay, down here is the motion button. Let's tap that. Fresco has 2 main ways to add motion to my artwork. We have frame by frame and motion pathing. Let's explore some frame by frame animation first. Okay, down here we can take a peek at our motion panel. First of all, we got this little plus symbol. We use that to add another frame. And over here we have our layer timeline. And since I just added another frame, we have 2 frames in our timeline. Let me just draw a random doodle on frame 1 and another random doodle on frame 2. Actually, let's hit that plus sign one more time and we'll add a 3rd frame, and I'll do one more random scribble, and now we have a 3-frame animation. Look at it go! As I scrub through these frames, you can see some onion skins, which kind of show what happened the frame before and the frame after. And I like that these onion skins change color. The frame before becomes purple, the frame after is green. If I keep adding frames, my onion skins help me keep track of where I've been and where I'm going. I can tap my settings down here and reduce or increase the amount of onion skins I'm shown right here. I can change the opacity of my onion skins right here, or I can turn them off entirely right here. And continuing on with our guide, this is the play all button to simply play our animation. Right now our animation is playing at 12 frames per second, but heading back to the settings, we can adjust this to whatever we want. I think I'm just gonna leave this at 12 frames per second though. We also have playback settings like loop, which is what it's doing right now, and then there's boomerang. That plays your animation to the last frame and then plays those frames again in reverse, and it keeps looping going forwards and then backwards and then forwards and then backwards and so on. And then there's this play once, which, you know, as the name implies, just plays it once. We also have this toggle to show our document timeline, which shows us the global timeline for all the animation that's happening on all of our different layers. Right now, all we have is this weird little doodle animation on one layer, but once we get animating on a bunch of layers, this document timeline can be helpful. And that's one thing that makes Fresco special when it comes to motion. You can have independent animations going on every single layer. If you've animated in other art apps, you know how liberating this can be. This gives you so much flexibility in your animations to be able to animate each layer independently. Like this layer could have a 6-frame loop, and then I could make another one with a 12-frame loop, and I could make a 3rd one with a 24-frame loop, no problem. Okay, and then the last button here in our motion panel is the path button. We're gonna come back to this absolute powerhouse of a button in a little bit, because this little guy right here is kind of like the door in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Once you open this door, everything gets wild. That's what we call foreshadowing, y'all. I'll see this path button later. Okay, so now that we have the basic lay of the land, let's get animating. Okay, first thing I need to do is decide what the heck I want to animate first. I think we can start kind of simple here and just do maybe like a blink animation for these eyeballs. So I got my inks layer here, my shadows layer here, and my color flats layer here. Let's go to my inks layer, and we're gonna grab my lasso tool over here because all of my inks are on one layer, and I'd like to separate this eye onto its own layer so that I can animate it. So I'm gonna tap here and just kind of tap around this eye. We gotta get real precise right here. Okay, let's grab the other side. Go right here. Get that. And we close our selection by tapping that circle right there. Cool. Now I'm gonna go to my 3 dots right over here, tap that, and I'm gonna choose cut selection. And it has cut those eyes away. And now I'm gonna tap those same 3 dots right there, and I'm gonna choose paste selection. Sweet. Now my eyes are on this little layer right here. I'm gonna hit done, and I am going to repeat that process on my shadows here. Grab all these shadows. Excellent. 3 dots, cut, and we're going to paste. I gotta put this back to multiply, and I gotta drop the opacity back down to like 50%. Fantastic. Move this up here next to my other eyes. And last but not least, one more time for color fills. Cut selection, paste selection, drag this up next to my eye. Now let's make a little eye group. I'm gonna double tap my touch modifier down here and tap each of these 3 layers and hit this little folder button. Cool, now I got a little group for my eyes. If I hide that, we can actually see that there is just empty space back here behind where my eyes were. So I'm just gonna fill that in with the skin color. I'm gonna go back down to my flats layer here, hold down my finger on my screen to select my skin color, and I'm just gonna fill this in with just the background color. So when I do my animations, we don't see weird background poking through. Sweetness, that's not freaky at all. Nope, no siree, not freaky. Let's bring those eyes back. Alrighty, let's go into my eye group here. And I think for now I can hide the fill colors and I can hide the shadows, and we're just gonna animate these inks. I'm gonna grab my vector brush right here, and what I need to do is sample my ink color, which is like a deep navy blue. Down here, we got our first frame. Now, I don't want her to just be blinking like nonstop, spazzing out. So I'm gonna duplicate this first frame 5 times, so I'll have 6 frames total. So I just tap the frame here, select duplicate frame. Tap it again, duplicate frame, duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. Now we have 6 frames. Now I'm gonna hit my plus symbol here to create a new frame. Now we have frame 7, and let's start animating this blink. We want to just go a little bit lower than this eyeball here. Just gently start that blink, and this a little bit higher. Starting to close that eye a bit. And I gotta remember I gotta do this for both eyes. Actually, I can use symmetry mode. I'm gonna click right here, go to symmetry, turn that on because my original drawing was symmetrical. Let me get rid of this. Let's zoom out so you guys can see both eyes simultaneously, and check this out, y'all. When I draw over here, it's also gonna draw on this side, thus cutting my work in half. We work smarter, not harder, right? Now, if my drawing wasn't originally drawn in symmetry mode, this would not work because it would be putting the eyeball like way off in space if my face wasn't perfectly symmetrical. But it just so happens that in part 1, I demonstrated to you guys the symmetry mode with this drawing. So this drawing is indeed symmetrical. Okay, we're gonna bring this eye wrinkle down a little bit, bring this one down a little bit, and then we got all these spirally eyes. Why did I decide to do spirally eyes? That's just so many more lines to draw. I do it to myself every time. Now, when we go over here, the same thing has been done on the other side. That's awesome. Okay, first frame of frame by frame animation done. Let's hit a plus symbol. Now we're on frame 8. I usually only like 1 frame of onion skin here. So I'm gonna go to my settings, reduce my onion skins down to just 1 frame, because the more you add, the more like busy it gets. And I'm just a 1 frame of onion skin kind of guy. Okay, let's close this eyeball a little bit more. The eyes are closing, slowly but surely. We got our spiral eyes. Pop those in there. Next frame, close the eye even more. Fantastic. Now you guys might notice that my brush stroke lags a little bit behind my pen tip. It's just my pen tip moves faster than my brush stroke. That's because my smoothing is cranked all the way up to 100%. I love the smoothing in Adobe Fresco. I think they have the best smoothing in the game. But if I were to crank my smoothing down to like 47%, it would be nice and snappy. But you know, when I draw slower lines, you can kind of see it becomes a little bit more wibbly wobbly, which is nice when you're doing like quick little strokes. But if I crank this all the way up, it lags a bit, but it's buttery smooth, and I don't even notice the lag at all. Let's get rid of all these scribbles that we definitely don't want in our animation. Double tap with 2 fingers to undo, or you got your undo button up there. I've gone 1 step too far, so I'll hit redo. Let's get back to this animation. My eyes are nearly closed. We have just like a little sliver of an opening here. Sweet. And now we're just gonna do basically a straight line. Get these eye wrinkles there. Awesome. Okay, so we have an eye closing, and now we need these eyes to open back up. Here's my closed frame, and this is slightly open, so I could tap my frame 10, hit duplicate, and then slide it over here and continue that. But it gets a little bit confusing. Like if you tap frame 9, hit duplicate, now you're on frame 10, and frame 10 should actually be frame 14, and it does start to get a little bit confusing. So I'm gonna go ahead and undo that. I'm gonna take frame 9, tap that, hit copy frame, go all the way to the end, tap the last frame, hit paste frame, and now on frame 13, it has copied. See, I've already lost track of where I was. Okay, so 11 was the last frame, which means 10 and 12 are the same, and 9 and 13 are the same. So we're on frame 8 now. Copy frame 8, hit done up here. Copy, paste. Now we're on frame 7. Copy, paste, and then frame 6 is kind of back to the beginning. Done. And now we have 16 frames, and we're trying to keep it within that multiple of 12. So we could go 3, 6, 12, 24, and since we're at 16 right now, I think I want to bump this up to 24. So I'm just gonna tap here, duplicate, tap here, duplicate, and keep going until I have reached 24. Now here we are at frame 24. Let's go ahead and take a peek at our blinking eyes. You know, her eyes aren't closed for quite long. This is my eyes closed frame, frame 11. So I think I'm gonna duplicate that one more time and then get rid of my 25th frame. Okay, now we're gonna bring in the colors. So we have 6 frames of just regular. We're gonna duplicate this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. We're gonna click on our inks layer, choose set as reference. That way our fill colors will follow our inks as a guide for where to put the fills. I think we can go ahead and turn our onion skins off for just a little bit so that I can easily sample my colors. There's the eyeball color. Let me grab my paint bucket tool here. Why don't I fill in the eyeball color on every frame? That makes sense. Eyeball color, eyeball color. Yes, yes. And now that we're back to normal, we're just gonna go ahead and duplicate this until we get to 24. Now let's just go ahead and put this into fast motion until I finish doing all these flats. And finally, we got my shadows. Now, you know, you could do this a lot simpler if you didn't have lines and fills and highlights and shadows, but I wanted to look all fancy schmancy. So first frame of shadows, let's go ahead and duplicate this till we get to 6 frames again. We'll hit the plus symbol here, and I'm just gonna come in here and add shadows. I've got purple and my layer is set to multiply, and then I set that to about 50%. Just gonna do kind of a drop shadow under this top eyelid here. And we're just gonna keep going through my frames, adding shadows on each one until I reach, what was it, frame 11? Frame 10, frame 11. Okay, and then we duplicate this one for frame 12, and then on frame 10, copy frame, paste frame. Frame 9, copy frame, paste frame. Copy frame, paste frame. Done. Frame 7, copy frame, paste frame, and finally, frame 6, copy frame, paste frame, and then we duplicate this until we reach that beautiful 24. Keep it going, almost there. One more time, one more time. Now, we should have a blink animation with lines and flats and shadows and highlights. Let's check it out. Not too bad. Little blinky blinky. It's crazy how just doing that has just added so much life to this static image. Now, what should we do next? I kind of want to do, there's this little purple medallion here that's on a string. I think it'd be cool if that was just swinging a little bit. I cut out my medallion and pasted it to a new layer, then filled back in the cat's head and some of the other elements that were missing after I cut out the medallion. All right, now that we got that merged together, let me go ahead and see if we can just get away with maybe transforming this thing. Let me duplicate this first, then go for my transform tool. I want to transform just this frame, and let's just kind of rotate this and move it on over there. So yeah, to animate this particular element, instead of drawing each frame individually by hand, I just kept duplicating the same illustration, and using my transform tool, I would move it into a new position to create the illusion of motion.
See if I can just swivel this to make it kind of look like it flings up at the zenith of its arc. I don't know if those words I used are correct, but it sounded pretty smart.
And then I just had to make a few minor adjustments to clean things up. But with just my transform tool and my lasso tool, I got this medallion to swing back and forth on the tip of my character's finger.
Okay, let's have a look-see. Swinging, swinging, swinging. That's pretty cool.
Then I used some more hand-drawn frame-by-frame animation to give my cat's tail a little bit of movement. I also had her smirk every once in a while, and I wanted these pieces of hair to kind of blow in the breeze every once in a while. Okay, awesome. That's looking good. One thing you gotta be careful of is sitting here staring at your animation for way too long. It's kind of hypnotic. Break out of it, Peter. Come on. We've got work to do. Okay. Now, this is where things get crazy and where Fresco flexes its true power when it comes to easily adding motion to your art. I told you we were gonna be coming back to this path button right here. You guys didn't think I forgot, did you? Okay, when I tap path, we see this menu pop up over here. Just feast your eyes on that, why don't you? There's so much stuff we can do here. But first things first, let me take my little watcher character here, that's what I call this guy right here, and draw a path for him to travel along. Oh yeah, look at him go. Now you can see here there's a little wiggle when my circle ends because I didn't draw a perfect circle. Oh well, no worries. I can tap right here to get my drawing aid. It pops up with a straight edge ruler right here, which is very useful. But if I hold down on the drawing aid icon, I can get some shapes here, and I'm gonna use my circle drawing aid. Let me just set this to the size I want and then trace my path around here. There we go. That's better. That got rid of that little wiggle at the ends because my circle wasn't perfect. Okay, now let's start playing. Cause stuff over here is just so fun and easy. I really do feel like I'm playing whenever I'm in this panel right here.
Okay, so when we take a look at some of these features, we have motion presets. This guy can bob. Look at him go. He's bobbing around there. He can breathe, which kind of makes him get a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller and a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller. As a matter of fact, let's get rid of my circle here and just do a single dot. Now we can see a little bit better what these features do. So the breathe makes him a bit bigger and smaller. Sparkle kind of makes him fade in and out. Bounce. Oh, he's bouncing. He's bouncing. We got spin. We can make him sway. That one's pretty cool. We got flicker, which just kind of makes him flicker in and out. That would be cool for like if you drew a light bulb or something, or you had some lightning bugs in the background. Jitter just makes him kind of bounce around, shake. And then we got custom where we can do all kinds of stuff here. And then down in advanced settings, we can do grow, shrink, and we can, change our percentage here. We can do the number of times. So it's just growing and shrinking constantly, or we could drop it all the way down to 1 to slow it way down. Rotate, we can set this to sway or spin. We can change our angle here, number of times. Like if we do it 2, he'll go back and forth. Extreme. Or we could switch it to spin, and that goes full 360. Switch it to clockwise or counterclockwise. The number of times, we can really just have him go super crazy. Whoa! Fade in, fade out. This is a lot of these presets, but we're able to kind of do multiple at a time if we wanted. We could have him do all kinds of stuff. And what's interesting is like, if we had this guy do this, we could make another path and do this, and now there's a copy of him, and we could do another path and do this, and now there's 3 copies of him, and we could do another path and do this, and now there's 4 copies, and we can just like spam these watchers, just like bugging out over here. If I want to get rid of that, I'll just tap on these little X's, clear out all these extra paths. Now, if I do a line to path, the character will actually follow the path in its original position and follow the trajectory of the line that I made. So I could do something like that, and it actually like follows the path, whereas if I turn this off, it would keep the character upright and it would follow the path. A line to path basically points my little illustration in the direction that I drew the path. So that would be great. Like if this was an airplane and you always want the nose pointing forward, you could draw this like path for an airplane and it would be like, you can add multiples along this path, and as I slide this up, we just, oh gosh, it's a flock of watchers. Oh, that's crazy. We're going ham. And then as we slide this back down, we get less and less. But if we do have multiples, we could also do scatter, and they start just like going all over the place. And as we bring this scatter back down, that's so trippy, dude. That's such a fever dream. We could also do ease in, ease out, where it starts off a little slow and then gets fast and then ends kind of slow. Starts off slow, fast, and ends slow. And the frames is currently set at 48, so we can choose how how long we want this animation to be. So 48 plus 48 is that 96? Let's go 96 here. We're still in a divisible of 24. So now it takes him twice as long to travel this path. Or we could do like 144. And now he's really kind of creeping along there. Let's go ahead and just make this crazy. We got some swaying. Actually, let's do some spinning. We're gonna do fade in, fade out. Now they're ghosts. We're gonna do align to path just to be crazy. We're gonna add some more multiples. We're gonna scatter them a little bit. We're gonna make them grow and shrink even more and do it more often. Let's go. We're gonna have them spin even more. And as you can see, you can do a lot of really interesting stuff with this panel over here.
Okay, so yeah, as you can see, motion pathing is awesome. But what I really wanted to do with my little watcher here is have him come from the left side over here, float across the frame, and then leave on the right-hand side.
So I'm gonna zoom out here. Actually, let's draw this. He's gonna be in the background. We'll pause this for a second. Let's drag this guy down all the way underneath my main character here, so it'll disappear behind my main character. I am going to draw a path from over here to the other side. We'll just have it a little bit of wave to it, okay? And we'll set the frames to 96 to start and see how that goes. And we're gonna have him grow and shrink just a little bit, maybe like 18%. So let's try that. Pretty nice. Okay, cool. Yeah, he's floating through the background. That adds a bit of depth. And then he comes through again here. Very nice. That's 96. Let's have him sway just a little bit too. We'll go to rotate. We'll go to sway, and the angle, we'll just go like 15%, and we'll have it happen like 4 times.
All right, so that's looking good. Now let's find a few more things to add a bit of motion to with our pathing features.
We'll take this guy even further down, and let's draw a path for him. Okay, he's cruising by. And this guy, maybe even less frequently, so we'll put this one at, let's see, 96 plus 96. That's 192. Is that gonna be too slow? 192. Here comes my little guy in the front. There goes my guy in the back. That's actually kind of nice. We'll go back to my path here. Let's have him kind of grow and shrink just a little bit, maybe more, just like 7%. And we'll have him rotate a little bit, maybe just negative 10%. We'll have that happen like 4 times. And yeah, now we got him just kind of floating by in the background, drifting along. Little watcher guys. What if I just merged this whole group with my little background sunshine thingy, and I went to a path here, and I just kind of barely had this like shift around. The sun is kind of bouncing around behind there. We'll do a bit of growing and shrinking, and we'll have it grow by just like 10%. Should we slow this down a little bit? Put it at 96. That's pretty cool. What does it look like when we play all? We're really getting somewhere with these pathing features. That's super cool. Oh yeah, now what would be interesting is if I got rid of these clouds that are currently in the background and I brought in clouds on their own layer, and then the clouds kind of like drifted by. So let's try that. We are gonna go to our clouds layer here. Let's just go ahead and delete that layer. I'm gonna go to my pixel brushes. Let me grab my scattered clouds brush here. We'll get like a light blue. I wanna make sure that my scattered clouds like don't go past the edge of my canvas so that they don't get cropped. Let's just take this all the way to the top layer here so that I can see that's kind of touching the edge. I want them to be kind of contained. So I'm gonna decrease my pixel size here. Let's try like 2000. Cool, there's one, that's one, that's one. We'll make another layer here and make this a little bit lighter. There's one, there's one. Okay, now I'm gonna move these lower later, but just so that I can see what's going on here, I'm gonna keep them as the top layer. They'll be moved to the background in just a second. Let's take this layer here first. Let's go to our path features, and we will draw a line just going across. And there goes my clouds floating by. I think we want to set this to be, what about 120? That's a divisible of 24, right? Okay, those clouds are going by. Should we have them bob just a little bit? Whoa, that's a lot of bobbing. How about breathe? I like that. We'll drag this down right, cha. And then this one we'll do kind of the same thing. Let's hit path first, and then we'll draw here. A little bit too high in the sky, maybe a tiny bit lower right here. Sweet. And we'll set this to 96. And then let's play all. Oh yeah, there is motion in the ocean. We got stuff moving around. It's going down. I love it. Now, there's one more cool little animation trick I wanted to show you, and that's using a clipping mask with our animation. I'm gonna create a new layer right here. Let's see, I think I need to fill in these sunglasses. Let's say that we want them to be like lime green instead of this teal color. I'm just gonna fill in these lenses with this lime green color. Wait, let's work smarter, not harder, and turn symmetry mode back on. Just one moment, let me get this filled in. Editor Nick, hit me with that fast motion. Okay, now let's set this, to multiply? And we'll just go ahead and reduce this a little bit. So let's say that I wanted a shine to kind of like go across these glasses. I could grab a light yellow green here and just do a new layer right above my green lenses here and do kind of like a slash there and maybe a skinnier slash right here. And then right over here with this button, I am going to hit my clipping mask. And now my shine is clipped to these green lenses underneath. So if we go to our path here, we can draw a path across our glasses. And when we play it, we can watch our shine go across the glasses there. And we could even add a bit more highlights with pure white. So now when we hit play, our shines kind of go across just these glasses because they're clipped with the clipping mask onto this lens layer right here. And it gives a pretty cool effect. I just showed you a bunch of really cool animation features inside of Adobe Fresco. And let's say that we were done with this animation. Maybe we want to export it and post it on a story on social media or include it in a video or something like that. We can go right up here to our export button. We'll tap that. We'll go to publish and export, the top option here. And then we have our motion export settings. We can export it as an MP4 and they have like an automatic setting or a web ready setting. You can choose how many times you want it to loop. So if you wanted your MP4 to loop like 10 times, it tells you that is 160 seconds. If you wanted it to loop like 4 times, that's 64 seconds, about a minute. You can export it as a GIF. And then one fun other little thing with the animated GIF thing, like if I got rid of all my background elements here and just made things transparent. If we go back to our export settings, we're gonna export motion. This time we're gonna go to GIF and we're gonna do transparent background. Let's go ahead and generate the frames here. We'll hit export and we'll choose copy. I've got my GIF copied. I'm gonna pop over to Instagram here. I'll just upload this story of a selfie of mine. Then I'll hit paste and look at that. I got a little animated GIF sticker here that I can make part of my Instagram stories. So you could make some fun like font animations inside of Fresco or make one of your characters and paste it into your Instagram stories and bring a little bit of animated zestiness to your social media posts, which I think is just kind of fun. And then finally, you can export it as a PNG sequence where it literally puts out one individual frame at a time. We actually use this a lot for our videos. We'll bring in a still image from one of my videos and either Nick or myself will animate some font or some little arrow or some kind of fun little animated doodad to highlight our video, and then we'll export it as a PNG sequence and bring all those into Adobe Premiere so that we can like adjust the speed if we need to or whatever. And each one of those PNGs can have a transparent background so that our video still shows through underneath, but the animation sits on top of it as a series of PNGs. So I'll just go ahead and export this as an MP4. I hit generate frames here. It's gonna do its thing for a little bit while it makes our video. Can save my video. And then here we have the actual video of my completed animation. And in the end, we got this awesome animation. I think this thing turned out pretty sick, especially for someone who's never touched animation before I started messing with it in Fresco. The tools in here really do make it easy enough for anyone to add motion to their artwork. It's so cool looking back to where we started with our rough sketch, then vector inks, then our fill colors and shading. And now here we are in the end with some motion to bring this artwork to life. And I did all that with the insanely awesome tools inside of Fresco. I'm still
blown away that Adobe made this app absolutely free for anyone and everyone. If you haven't tried Fresco yet, check out the link in the description. You can get it for free. You can start making something awesome like now. And yeah, check out part 1 over on my YouTube channel if you want to see how I made this illustration from scratch with all the tools in Adobe Fresco. Thank you so much for watching. Oh yeah, and thank you Adobe for having me. This has been great. I'm 1000. Now, go make something awesome. Okay, bye.